Welcome to another episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. I am your host, Billie Tarascio, and today I am joined by Rebekah Chapman of Modern Law. Hello, Rebekah. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Rebekah is one of our fearless, wonderful, strong, amazing paralegals, and you work with our managing attorney, Stacey Rogan, as her paralegal. Welcome to the show and welcome back to Modern Law.
Thank you. I am very glad to be back.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
okay. Tell people about your legal journey.
Okay. I actually started out in social work. I have my master's in social work. I had always wanted to be a lawyer. So I thought. And so I kind of started down that path and that didn't work out. And I decided I'm going to get my paralegal certificate. So that's what I did. And never intended to end up in family law after being in social work. But it just happened that a firm needed a social worker as well as a paralegal. So that's where I ended up. And that was November of 2004. So I have been doing this a long time. I have mostly done family law, but I've also done little bits of other, pretty much every other area, just pieces here and there. I also was a legal document preparer in Arizona for a little while, and that's how I first met you.
Wow.
And I did some stuff for you guys, and it was a really great experience, and I loved it. I had a full-time job at the time, and you guys were smaller then, so it was nice to come back and be part of a larger group of people. So, and we moved away to Missouri for a little while, and I did trust and estates for about 3 years, and a little bit of med mal. And then we came back here and I got back into family law and eventually reached out to you. And this is the best decision I think I've made in the last 19 years.
Oh, stop it. I was so happy when you reached out. So we worked together. You were our certified legal document preparer for I Do Over. I think it was Access Legal at the time.
Yes.
And that was a lot of years ago. And we just loved working with you. I don't think that I knew that you were a social worker, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it. And, our HR manager also has a master's in social work. And I think that background, it's just, it lends itself to people who have excellent people skills, excellent organizational skills, the ability to work in high conflict, high stress environments, be very nurturing. It's just a pretty outstanding fit for family law.
Yes, it has turned out to be that way. Yes. And the first paralegal job that I did have who needed a social worker, they also did a lot of juvenile law. And I really found that I liked that. That's something that I really liked. Some of it's not so happy, but some of it can be happy. So that's the nice part about that. And my social work definitely came in handy there.
I bet it did. Yeah. That's interesting. So how you also have 2 kids who are in club soccer.
Yes.
So
soccer. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Club soccer runs my life, I think.
And it does. So I want to talk about the nitty gritty of how do you handle a full-time job and be a full-time
mom? It is very, very difficult because I also have a husband that travels probably 80 to 85% of the time. So I joke with people about being a married single mom. And over the last several years that he's been doing this, I have certainly come to respect single moms so much more and understand how it works. But it is difficult. My kids practice about 4 nights a week. We have games on the weekends. We often have tournaments on 2 different sides of the valley at the same time. And trying to work at the same time. I'm blessed that I get to work at home, that I have that option, because I honestly don't know how I would do it if I couldn't do that. My oldest is almost 13 and my youngest is 10. So they're older now, so they can, kind of handle themselves. So that makes it a little bit easier, but it is difficult. It is very difficult. And I have to kind of compartmentalize and just, but it crosses over. And sometimes that makes it difficult to manage everything and keep the stress down and all that stuff. But we do it somehow.
So
It's just,
is
or
there
it's just one of those things, you just do what you have to do, I guess.
you do what you have to do. And is there a specific routine that allows you to get it all done?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. I tend to work out in the mornings, otherwise I won't do it. And then I, come home, get ready, sit down early so that I can be done to take them to practice. And so it's kind of like I do the same thing every day. I usually try to sit down by 7:30 or 8, get up out of the chair by 4:30, so that so I try to keep my work within, even though we have a lot of flexibility, I try to keep my work within the usual, kind of 9 to 5 type of work day, because that's just how it works. And I can't stay up late. So for me, I need to work during the day, and I do better during the day. So it's just kind of they've just had to learn how to do a lot more things for themselves. And, I feel like it's the same day every day. So we just kind of get up and do it all over again.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it doesn't work very well. So,
Got it. Got
yeah.
it. And do you think it'll get easier or harder with them back in school?
Um, in some ways, both. I think. I mean, it's easier this year because they're both riding their bikes to school. So I don't
Oh,
have to
nice.
stop. Yes. So I don't have to stop and start to go pick them up and then rush to finish up before practice time and things like that. But it's harder because the older they get, the more work they have, and then they're exhausted and it's hard to get the work done. And then they're either staying up late or getting up early. So sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's harder.
Yeah.
My kids have 2 different personalities. One of them's very conscientious and gets it done no matter what. And the other one is not going to do any more than he has to do. So it's sometimes it's a struggle, but sometimes easier, sometimes harder.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of demands on our kids now. It feels like there's a lot more demands on them than we were kids. And it also feels like there's more demands on parents
Mhm.
now than we were kids.
Yes, I would agree with that. I know I grew up in the Midwest, and I know times are different now too, but club sports were not a thing.
Yeah.
So it was, you play, sports at school and that's it. And even though that was still busy, but yes, they're just expected to do so much schoolwork on the computer. So they have to be like more organized, and just so you have to keep them organized and you have to keep them focused. And sometimes I feel like they're busier than I am, to be honest, which I don't know if that's fair or not, but they do things that they love to do. So, we just try to offer what we can offer, but they get exhausted. It's exhausting. Yeah.
Now, in the last job that you had, it was not work from home, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh,
It
it was
was.
work from home.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So have you always worked from home?
Not always, no. I probably did not start working from home until maybe 2014 or so. So 10 years, I pretty much worked in the office all the time. And then finally, I was working for a solo practitioner where, he wanted to kind of, not pay for as much office space and do, and we kind of worked together really well. So he finally was like, okay, you can start working from home. And then I worked for him remotely as well when we moved to Missouri for a while. And then I went back to an office for 3.5 years or so. And then when we got back here, I started working from home. So for the last 3.5 years now, I've been working from home again. So quite a few years.
So what's easier or harder? What's your preference?
Ooh, I prefer to work at home because I like the flexibility, but sometimes it would be easier to be in an office just because the change of scenery, it kind of helps you get I sit in the house all day by myself. So the change of scenery is, kind of good some days. So that's what I like, having the option for an office.
Yeah.
But it can be hard. I learned a long time ago, the very first time I worked from home, that I had to take a shower, put on real clothes, even if they weren't like dress clothes, had to put on real clothes, things like that. Otherwise, it just kind of was really hard to focus and get through the day because it didn't feel like work.
Yeah,
Hard.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I do think, modern life presents an interesting set of challenges. And I think we're acutely aware of it as we're in back to school season right now.
Yes.
So everything's gearing up for a big change for all of us working moms. Now, you are also a legal paraprofessional.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Well, I had no idea that Arizona was doing this because it started when I was still in Missouri, and my job right before Modern Law, he was a solo practitioner, and I had mentioned when I interviewed with him that I might think about getting my legal document preparer certificate again so that I could maybe do some things on my own, do some other things, whatever. And he mentioned, oh, you might want to hold off on that because there's this new certification. And so I decided to pursue it. I was one of the lucky ones that passed both tests on the first try, barely. But
Does that mean you're lucky, or does that mean you're smart and qualified?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both, maybe, because it was by the skin of my teeth because they were hard. I mean, and there's not a lot of study materials yet and things like that, like attorneys have for the bar and stuff. And so it wasn't something I ever thought I would do. But decided to do it since I was qualified to do it. And, you know, I can use it if I choose to. I kind of decided, you know, that maybe litigation wasn't for me. But there is a new certificate for adoptions and things that I think I would like to do in the future. So, yeah, it's kind of nice to have the option and to know that I have the knowledge to be able to do that. So kind of just fell in my lap, sort of.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of lawyers who don't want to do litigation as well. Litigation's hard.
Yes.
It's really hard. But now, as a licensed legal paraprofessional, there's a lot you can do in terms of document drafting, also giving people advice, coaching, helping people get ready to go to court for themselves, standing in for your lawyer, providing legal advice to clients while your lawyer's out. Like, there's just so much you can do. I just think it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I got into it in the first place, really, was to have a little bit of just autonomy and maybe authority, because historically I had worked for a lot of attorneys that it was just hard to get things done efficiently and things like that. And I kind of just wanted the ability to approve things and sign things and, you know, things like that. That's initially why I considered doing it. But yeah, I like the idea that I can step in if somebody needs my help, and that I'm not as worried about what I tell the clients now, because as long as it doesn't interfere with, you know, Stacy's strategy or whatever, you know, I don't have to dance around the legal advice, you know, so much or whatever. I can offer, you know, more than I used to be able to do. So.
Yep, absolutely. And your clients absolutely love it. The feedback that we have received from clients working with you has always been stellar. It was stellar when you were a legal document preparer for us. It's been stellar since you've been here. Stacy absolutely loves working with you. I love working with you. I'm so happy that you are on Modern Law's team.
I am too. And I love working with you guys. I love working with Stacy. Everybody has been so awesome. Like I have just never worked in an environment quite like this. And I just really love it. So.
Well, if you all have enjoyed this episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast, please make sure to like it, download it, leave your review. And if you know someone who would be a good guest on the Modern Divorce Podcast, send them my way. Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Divorce Podcast. Remember, anything you've heard today or anything you read online is not the replacement for actual consultation with an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Even if you called in and we spoke to you, you are anonymous and we don't have your details and you have not become a client of Modern Law. However, we would love to speak with you, or you should seek out the advice of legal counsel or counseling or any other expert near you. And if you have an idea for a show topic or you need to speak with an attorney in Arizona, you can reach me at info@mymodernlaw.com.